Dear Venerable Sisters and Dhamma friends, today is our last day in our residential retreat, and even though it is morning hours, we are going to have the day's talk. So may everyone settle down for the talk and give the consent with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Nibbida virage asati nibbida viraga vipannasse. Atupa nisang hotu vimutti jnana dassanang piti. Dear Venerable Sisters and Dhamma friends, this is the conclusive remark the Buddha gives along this particular discourse. It's a series of events starting from mindfulness and the clear comprehension and leading one after the other to ending up with the knowledge and the vision of disenchantment, vimutti jnana darsana. So, to just give a gist, mindfulness and clear comprehension gives rise to, in a positive way, or gives the conducive conditions or proximate cause for moral shame and the moral dread. And that very moral shame and the moral dread or moral fear gives rise to restraint of sense faculties, and restraint of sense faculties is the proximate cause or conducive situation for moral behavior, sila. And whenever there are sila background or foundation, it gives the it becomes the proximate cause or sound basis for concentration, and that is correct concentration. So whenever there is a correct concentration, it's a proximate cause for the see things as they are. And whenever, as we discussed yesterday, whenever seeing things as they are, it is natural to have nibbida viraga, that is disenchantment and dispassion. Whenever such a disenchantment and dispassion, nibbida viraga happens, that gives rise to the vimutti jnana darsana, or liberating knowledge and the vision. So, I would like to emphasize further and further, nibbida viraga, that means disenchantment and the dispassion, is sometimes known as depression and tension. That's why the people are full with today. At least 40% in the pathetic level, so they must be treated. Whenever such a disenchantment and the dispassion happen, consider many people get depressed, get excited because it is hate-based. They do not know. So therefore they are hating very disenchantment and the dispassion. So what mindfulness and the clear comprehension is giving, just to live with, not to react with, just to be with this disenchantment and the dispassion. And one day he or she may understand the disenchantment and the dispassion or nibbida viraga as 2 facets. One thing is backed by hate base, the other one is hateless. That is what you call the wisdom. So, removal of the hate to the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness, it's the biggest art. Oh, that is we call common sense. That's the most uncommon thing in the world. People are searching ways and means to get rid of day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. So ultimately they get into the bigger trouble. To quote Sigmund Freud, he says, you get hysteric level of trauma whenever you are going to avoid day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. The day you accept day-to-day unsatisfactoriness, and whenever you are not reacting it, you will not end up with trauma, not hysteria. So, look at the world. So, they can't tolerate even a little headache. They can't tolerate a little bit of tiredness. So, always going for painkillers and other kind of thing. Ultimately, as a punishment to the avoiding or escapism to the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness, they end up with psychological, pathetic situation. So, to answer that, the Buddha give the first truth in the Noble Eightfold Path, truth of suffering. What is truth of suffering? Day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. He being a king or Kingsley, still he lived 45 years or disguised himself 45 years as a beggar. Imagine the amount of contentment. We feel, we being beggars, try to assimilate kings. So we end up with king's level of hysteria, king's level of trauma. Ultimately, we can't bear it up. So committing suicide, or mental diseases, or physical diseases. The medical science for the physical and mental, such a developed culture, present day, but no one can answer this simple question. But they are also based upon completely wrong calculation. They think we can get rid of day-to-day suffering as far as we have these equipments and all the kind of thing, but instead it is increased. So this Nibbida Viraga and connected it with the Vimutti Jnana Darsana, it's a fair doubt. Will it work at world or society at large? Often it is not. You can't prescribe it to the big society at large, because they won't understand. They all are thinking the Nibbida Viraga, whenever disenchantment and the dispassion happen, we must get rid of that. We must escape from that. And then you are going in search of Vimukti Jnana Darsana, never. But the secret is whenever you are here, now I am. Whenever you are in that dimension, the path is open. So it is a selfish path. You can go to Nibbida Viraga and understand Nibbida Viraga without hatred, and understand these are the early signs of the Vimutti Jnana Darsana, but your dear and near one will not accept. They will consider you are very uppish, and you are very nihilistic, you are very not entertaining, and therefore you are negative, the pleasure denial kind of thing. So therefore, we get cornered. Those who try to see the disenchantment and the dispassion in a hate-less method, wise way, other people will cut you off. They will, throw you away from the clan. Or that's a one term, it will come later. But that is what happened. Whenever we try to meditate and whenever we try to have a normal life, not to go for luxuries but to live with basic needs, we are cornered, we are outcasted. Because today world is consumerizing. World is full of luxuries, and that is how the economy is running. So whenever you are practicing and doing the frugal life, down-to-earth life, going for basic needs, your children completely will declare war. Because they are born and they are taught and they are aiming to go for this kind of a consumerized society, because that is the way they are making curriculum. So therefore, the parents, specifically the meditating parents, they have to understand, whenever you try to understand the disenchantment and the dispassion without hatred, there's an internal or inside the brain, there's a war. right hemisphere and the left hemisphere in the world, in the brain, is a completely two things. They are connected with the corpus callosum. That connection never happens. They are completely two entities in your body. The corpus callosum is a superconductive connection that never works. It works only when you are doing nothing. Then the left and the right, there's a chance to communicate to happen. So we are, throughout the day, we are rat race, running, and accelerating, and one-upmanship. So therefore the corpus callosum is completely idle, and the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere never talk each other. Not that children and parents are disturbed in community. Not that the teachers and the students are communication gap. Not that the kings and the subject communication gap. The gap is inside. But I am talking maybe a very conventional early theory in brain science and psychology. That is not the brain. Sorry, that brain is not the mind. That is a separate issue. But that is been declared. So in our life, are we facing this question of dispassion and disenchantment only at the higher level, or in our day-to-day life? Or this the viraga, nibbida viraga, is it such a big thing in the super high level, or in our day-to-day breathing? So vipassana way, it says each and every breath is with nibbida viraga, but our brain, specifically our sense organs, never touch it. It touches only the gross area. Whenever the breath becomes subtle and subtle and subtle, our senses withdraw and says, I can't touch the breath. Breath is no more. Many people complain, even at the beginning, I can't touch the breath. Because our brain is catching only the gross areas, only the conspicuous areas. The breath, the conspicuous breath, the gross breath, start with very subtle breath, and once it becomes gross, again it becomes subtle. The tail end and the head end, we never touch. Even the middle part, the gross area, many people complain, I can't meditate because I can't feel the breath, I can't get the breath. So Mahasi Sayadaw came out with, if you can't touch the breath, see the rising and falling of your tummy, and if you can't feel it, keep the left hand on your belly and see the physical changes, because our mind is so gross. Once you tackled, once you met up with, once you face to face with rising and falling of breath, the Buddha in the Majjhya Sutta, it says you start with the gross, that is bell-shaped curve, the tip. That is the tip of the iceberg. When and where you make sure each and every breath, one after the other, if you can keep touch with the whatever conspicuous, then you will develop a certain amount of confidence. Yes, now I can have the breath. I am sure it is not wandering so much. Next breath also I can see. Next breath also I can see. So this is the launching. This is the embarkation to the meditation. Whenever such a thing happens, now the Buddha says, if you are sure, each and every breath is assured, maybe 10-20 breaths, I am not asking from morning to evening. Whenever happening, would you mind to focus to see the beginning of the breath, the arising part of the breath? So arising part of the breath is not so conspicuous, it is more subtle, so therefore you must have preparedness or vigilance or diligence not to see the already arisen breath, just to see arising part. That means you are not only studying the already arisen sun, you go to the eastern shore and see the dawn. There's a panoramic view before the sunrise. And it is starting with red color, and slowly it becomes white and becomes brilliant, and then only that whole panoramic view is 30 minutes. And then only the sun arises. And when it's arising, it's red in color, very colorful. And at that time you have to go there and wait. Fix your cameras on a tripod and then you can see the sunrise, a brilliant thing. Whenever it come up to the 10 o'clock in the day, you have to wear sunglasses not to see the sun. It's so torturing. But the rising, such a brilliant thing. So Buddha is asking, hey darling, daily you see sun has a particular rotation. Have you ever been to the eastern coast and see the sunrise? It's beautiful. You just go and see. So that is how once you catch the breath, you go to the beginning. There you have to understand appamada, the preparedness, the vigilance, the diligence, how the arising part. And when you go still further and further and further to the source, the arising that is called yoniso manasikara, go to the source and you find from the unknown point to the gross breath, there's a series of episodes happening within a very limited time. Things are changing so fast, unbelievable. So they are not only your mindfulness, your clear comprehension must be there. Very object you know, labeled as breath, now you have at least beginning of the breath and the breath. That is what you call Namarupa Paricheda Jnana, and then go to the Pacche Pariggaha Jnana. And Mahasi Sayadaw says, Namarupa Paricheda Jnana is you just see the breath, you see the tip of the iceberg, but you know each and every time, I can keep the breath in view with. And then following the advice of the Buddha, you go to try to see the beginning of the breath and the breath. That is called Paccha and Pariggaha, and discern the breath from the beginning of the breath. And that is, beginning of the breath is so dramatic. Not only observing the breath, you have to see the changing nature of the breath, uncertainty of the breath, and how quickly it is changing. Early part of the sunrise is very beautiful. When the sun comes into the midday, scorching. You can't look at it. If you look at, your eyes get blind. So that changes indicate mindfulness to clear comprehension, and that very knowledge or that come up to that level, yogi must push meditation. Yogi must exert energy. And with that knowledge, what happens? Already arisen, breath, now ceases to exist. That is the most dangerous part. Our mind is so, they are developing phobia. They are developing nauseatic. They feel vomitish. Whenever you are to see with this already developed mindfulness how the cessation of the breath, you shiver. Your head will collapse. And the sitting posture will be drowsy. You can't maintain. So now only you see the beginning, the middle and the end. That is, according to the Vipassana Jnana, is called Sammasana Jnana. Whatever you can see the beginning, the middle and the end. When that happens, why can't you, or why can't you maintain meditation? Because it's boring. The disappearance is disenchanting and dispassionate. And therefore, tanha, the desire, come and push you to the next breath. Rather than see the tail end of the in-breath, you push to the out-breath. And then you are engaged with the out-breath. Whenever it ceases to exist, the tanha come and push you to the in-breath rather than seeing the tail end of the breath. So we are happy with childbirth, but we are not happy with the death. Death is unauspicious. Birth is always auspicious. We run to see newly born children and it is something new. But the mortuary and the cemetery, oh no, that is very awful. Don't expose young children and the middle-aged people to that kind of thing because it's bad. This is the way we are developing hatred to the disenchantment and the dispassion. The Buddha says, go to the cemetery and see the dying people. Now the near-death experience experiment is more than 40 years. They go to the patient in the last hour and try to understand what is happening. They find 40% people report, of course, near-death experience, not the death. They are going to the heaven. It's full of bliss. But while we are living, we say death is such a black thing, it's such a disaster, this is the worst thing can happen, therefore don't talk about. But the near-death experience, they are explaining almost the same. They have never meditated. They go to a bliss. And National Telegraph magazine, the newspaper, they published 16% of this near-death experience evidence they have tested with. But they have seen after the going away from the body, whether they are hallucinated or mind-made, they proved 16% truth. And whenever someone, if someone goes to, according to the National Telegraph, whenever someone experiences near death, there may be some insight in our congregation also, they never hate oneself thereafter. They never hate living beings. And they never feel, I am too old to learn new languages. And they never hate oneself. They are undergoing such a situation because of the fear of the death, fear of unknown, fear of new thing. We are killing our present moment. We have so much of fear, it's artificial. It's artificial rather than experiencing death. I am not asking the experiencing of the conventional death. I am asking the experience of death of your in-breath, death of your out-breath. That is the truth of the third one, Nirodha Satcha. So difference is when you are developing observing the end of the in-breath and out-breath, end of the rising and falling, end of the left leg and the right leg, at the beginning you have phobia, you have negative, you have kind of a evading kind of a character. It's a script put into our brain by our elders. Newly born children, they don't have fear. Even the cancer patient they observed, when very young children, they are dying, they are not entertaining fear, because no one is introduced it. When people become elderly, they are conditioned. So Buddha is bringing us backward. He said, darling, when you were young, you are very bold to see both rising and passing away. But more you elderly, you hate passing away, you love arising, samudaya, vaya. So breath, you have to incorporate not only the middle part of the breath, samudaya means arising part. At the end of the part, you can feel how much you are shivering, how much phobia kind of reactions, or simply put, boredom and the monotony, and you get up and go, you don't know why. While meditating, I can't. I don't feel like comfortable. Not a single person in the congregation not experience that. So they think it is something wrong with the climate, something wrong with food, something wrong with the constellation, or someone is disturbing me, so therefore I can't continue meditate. Leave aside the people, our relatives, those who are not meditating, nothing to talk about. They have their own reason, because meditation, the insight, always leading you from the middle to the first or early part, and then to the last part. Middle to the beginning, and then to the end. 2, 1, 3 formula. And whenever you come to the third part or disappearing part, everyone experiences the same. Language cannot explain it because of the fear. So there is a book called Fear of Freedom, Fear of Unknown, or Fear of Disenchantment. So therefore we are secure, make ourselves secure not to see the death. That is how the King Suddhodana maintained the Prince Siddhartha, not to see the dead, not to see a sick, not old age, not to see a monk. First time he see ledek, malek, malakandak, paviddek, that means the old age, sick, old age, death and this thing, that's enough. He decided, We fellows see these 4 signs, 4 into 4 within a day, still never give up household life. Never. Never you think about, because you think this is bad thing. So this is how big cities are made. In big cities, dead people, you can't see. They must be put into the funeral parlor. You can't bring at home. Sick people should be definitely go to the hospital. If the sick person is not going to hospital, other healthy people will be sued, put into jail. You can't keep sick people at home. And elderly people must be go to the house of elders. Mad people must go to the asylum. When you go to the town, what a city! All the young people with cars and Apple and all the kind of thing. So we bumpkins coming from Sri Lanka and looking at the town, what a heaven! By pressing a one button, you can have everything. So why should you do merit and go to the heaven? This is heaven, not earth. But everyone is psychologically sick. Each and everyone. But their way of life, because they are avoiding the cessation part. Because untrained mind, the seeing cessation is utter threat. So whole series of meditation, I am telling Vipassana is preparing yourself. Please don't avoid it. It's a part and partial. See the cessation part. Meditate till you become not fearful. Consider it's a part and partial of the game. It's a day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. Whatever the way of town, the planned towns, central planned towns, the old age sickness and the death, inevitable. And you go to India, the parturition also happen on the street, and sick people also in the street, mad people also in the same street, and eating and killing and death, everything is in the open air. So India is the boiling pot for philosophy. So these kind of organized places, they are very artificial. It is done to get rid of the disenchantment and the dispassion, because they have no guts, they have no preparedness, they have no clear comprehension to understand if it is something arising, it is passing away. So we can tap ourselves how much we are ready to see the disappearing part of the in-breath, disappearing part of the out-breath. The better part of the story continue, and it is more sweet in taste than sour or astringent, because imagine hatred. A rising part is full of fear, full of suffering. Disappearance of the hatred, good. Rising of the desire, the cause of suffering. And the disappearing of the desire, such a beautiful thing. So whether it is a breath, in-breath, out-breath, rising, falling like materiality, or emotions like desire, hatred and ignorance, disappearance have same taste, single taste, it is called vimutti or nirodha. Whatever may be the rising part, it's very discriminated and sectarianism, good and bad, everything. Whatever it may be, materiality or mentality or discriminated thing, the disappearance, disenchantment, dispassion or cessation or the getting dwindled off, always have same taste. But humankind always hate it, so they are in suffering. But by looking at that, if you can have a glad mind, you are already enlightened. If you are looking it with the padutta manasa, hateful mind, so you are suffering. The phenomena is the phenomena. What happens is, when you are advancing, you are equally observing the arising and the passing away. And there are a lot of chances for you to either get glad or hateful. So that depends on your maturity. That depends on your personality. That depends on your training. You don't ask other people and go and see whether I am advancing in meditation or not, whether I am on the correct path or not. When and where, whatever you see, if you have the Pasanna Manasa, glad mind, and I recommend, you may be too old, never mind. I have a copy, Pollyanna, by Eleanor Porter, and today I am going to take it to the Satipasala. The Pollyanna is being taught, you must try to find a reason to be glad under any circumstances, no matter what. But our media, our government leaders, our teachers, our parents always find a reason to be suffer. Reason to be, not to be glad, they are critical. That is what you call literature. That's what they call bullshit. The Buddha says, Subha paramaham bhikkhave metta ceto vimutting vadami. Ita panyasa puggalo uttaring appade vijjanta. So monks, please see love spots. Please see the silver line in the dark cloud. Don't look at the dark side. Then your mind is suffering. Just like the cartwheel followed by the ox hoof. Whenever you see the silver line or the love spots or the beauty or friendship, you're always happy. So this perspective changing from the Padutta Manasa to Pasanna Manasa is what the story here. Otherwise the Nibbida Viraga is not so uncommon. Viraga means opposite of Raga. Raga means the desire. Raga means attachment. Raga means the gravity. Viraga is, you are disenchanted, everything is equal. There is no, this is better than the other one, this is lion's share, this is the better half. No, everything is the same. So when that happens, when you are about to see, maybe due to your ardent practice, whenever it happens as a serious thing underneath happening, your motivation will be nullified. Then you don't know why should you live. What is the aim? As far as you have a desire, as far as you have a goal, you are chasing in a rat race. But lucky or unlucky enough, some of the developed countries, rich people, they have earned, they have reached their goals, but they don't know what to do. They have a hobby, crushing and exploiting poor people. This is what the bloody fools are doing. But thanks to the social media, we poor people, we know the game now. But we challenge them, we are happier than you. Because we are contented. We try to be here, we try to understand the beginning, the middle and the end of economic cycles, breath, rising and falling, and heat waves, everything. If the heat wave is very scorchy, disappearance is beauty. Disappearance is blessing. So the Buddha says, anything arising on the earth is nothing but suffering. Anything ceases to exist, nothing but suffering. So cessation of the suffering is the happiness. So to see it, you have to see the end phenomena, end episode of any phenomena. That is never taught in universities. Never taught in schools, always talking about new innovation, creativity, productivity, but never taught each and every created thing died and disappeared by itself. Any formula, any system, you analyze and see, their death certificate is already inside the formula. The certificate is within the system. You fail to understand because only you see the rosy side, you see the arising part. But if you know Buddhist philosophy, you are not always see the negative side, but you know their death certificate is there. Whenever Jnananda used to say, whenever a child is born, they give a birth certificate. But invariably that is the death certificate. Each and every child born died. So there's a Sudu Amaduro, or white monk went to get visa in Colombo, and it's a tedious process. And knowing that one young monk asked Bhante, if you need after work, please come to our home, it is in Colombo. You can have the lunch and kind of thing. So the neighbor lady also came, because at that time people are in office and kind of thing. She also came and she also contributed and asked that Vaithamuduro, Sudhuhamuduro, Bhante, my child died at the very lovable stage, so I am always suffering. So that is why I am always searching ways and means to give dani. So I am very happy to give. Please give me an anumodana. He asked, Sudhamudro asked that lady, young amma, young mother, what is the cause of suffering? I don't know, the doctor did some mistake. That would have been, but it is hidden. But I am the suffering. So if I am going to say, the proximate cause of death is the birth, are you ready to accept? Mother was shocked. The proximate cause for the death is the birth. That's the starting point of the Buddha, the Vipassana. Why people are dying? Because they are born. That is completely forgotten in the medical science. When the medical science is going to teach you, your death is due to your birth, then medical science becomes null and void. When the doctor is going to write the cause for suffering, cause for the death as the birth, doctor will be kicked off according to the oath. Define the asthma, this, that, and this and that, everything. Nonsense, it's bullshit, it's a fabrication. Your proximate cause is the birth. So likewise, when the breath ceases to exist, it is because it's arisen. So every arising thing is having its own death certificate. The moment you see people say you are only seeing the death, you see nihilism, you are destructive and you are not entertaining the life. So entertaining life is try to escape day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. You see each and every person, so-called civilized beings, when compared to the aboriginals, they destroy the society, they destroy the environment, they exaggerate the global warming and pollution. Because by doing that they think they can alleviate day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. No, it is impossible. Only you can do is, you can adopt into that. When you are adopting, the point I am going to make is, your motivation reduces. So Professor Padmasiddha Silva, he wrote an article, Motivational Theory. We are motivated by education. We are motivated by politics, economics and social, motivated and gone to where? The motivation is rat race. Instead, if you sit and be here now I am, you are contented without anything. But without being here and now, you always do research, and he says you have no time to be mindful because you have to plan future. You have to think about the analysis of the past. And someone says, never mind, have 5 minutes at least to live with yourself. Have 5 minutes to be here and no, Bhante, don't, I am very serious. You forest monks can do it, but we are housewives, we don't have time to be mindful. We have no time to be doing nothing. We are like bullock carts, the cart in the in the cart, taking the weight, santhara gamane tanna asa. So we are pulling all weight thinking we can get rid of the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. The day-to-day unsatisfactoriness you can see as a truth. You can see without without hate. That is what you call Nibbida Viraga. So this area of teaching, difficult to teach in the 20s, 30s. Forget about teenage. Because all the education system is motivating them. Parents are motivating them. Teachers are motivating them. So whenever we give Satipasala or mindful school, some children, they go and ask parents, Why should I educate? Why should I go to school? I am happy now. And if I am going to do education and get that post and this post, it's unwanted suffering. I am good. So, but I am the first in the class, no problem. Because my mind is very clear. So why should I educate? Me. The parents are utterly shocked. These parents they do not know how the children happen. They don't know their sex is the root cause for the children to happen. After happening, they are claiming my boy and my girl. Well, they don't know. It's a mishap. And then they are asking the parents, hey, you are chasing me to this and that for what? Only the mindful children. Others won't ask. They have been so twisted, brainwashed. So the parents sometimes secretly ask, but the performances are increasing, extracurriculum and the curricular work, they are good at the school, but they come and ask, why should I educate myself? I am happy and here and there. No answer. Because we always must fight and always have one-upmanship, and once you go on there, you see nothing. So therefore, we elderly people must understand in our culture, in our education, how much we are being not to look at the tail end of the phenomena, tail end of the life, tail end of anything. And we are talking and working with the beginning and the middle. And try to forget about, so much so you forget about the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness, you end up with hysteric level of trauma. Instead, John Kabat-Zinn writing full catastrophic living, full catastrophe life. So the catastrophe in the life is the truth. Whenever you become mindful, you are happy, not that you are entertaining, that you are promoting. You understand this is the truth. But when you go to given $550 and go and take MBCT, mindfulness-based stress reduction program, you going to enlighten and you say, there onward, there won't be any friction, no suffering, and therefore you expect something. What you get is your day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. You are exposed to it rather than avoiding it. So Buddha did it as a life example, and a whole teaching is how Nibbida Viraga leading to Vimukti Jnana Dassana. So it is the same thing you have to reshuffle and look things as they are. Don't try to put negativity to some side and positive to other thing. That is what we call attribution of likings and disliking. Attribution of desirability and undesirability. The imposing of pleasure and pain. They are completely artificial things. Things are there as such. Whenever we put these values, life becomes macerated. But whenever things to happen, more than bearable. Not that they are excruciating. If your mind is sick, mind is discriminated with the liking and disliking, desirability, undesirability, pain and pleasure, you have been hacked all the time. So the Buddha says that the 300 whips morning, 300 whipping or hitting you in the midday and the evening, because you put everything you put with liking and disliking, or desirability and undesirability. You don't know it is artificial. It is some scripts put into your mind according to your way of life. And in mindfulness, whenever you become mindful and try to be, so to say, a few thought moments, you again come back to the boiling pot and say everything is equal. That is, we call not shaken by vicissitudes of the life. The Buddha introduced Atthaloka Dhamma, and not to be carried away, not to be shaken. That is the ultimatum. That's the point we started before the age 6. But middle age, we think only pleasure, no pain. That is what we call pleasure principle. Only desirable, no undesirable. That is what the politicians are promising you. And only gain, not the loss, that is economists are going to show you. And only rich, no poor, that's what the social scientists are going to paint a picture. That is why we are buying here in the school. But all these fellows are equally suffering with us, equally suffering like us. But they are just selling formulas. They are just selling theories, but we are in the same boat. So whenever we are training to the present moment, whenever we are training to be down to earth, simple one word is, you become innocent, you back in the paradise. When you try to smart and try to eat the apple, finished. Then you are deprived of the paradise, and God will come and get out. You bloody fellows are knowledgeable, now you have sex, you have discrimination. Earlier you were very innocent, naked people. So mindfulness brings you to the naked, young, childlike life. It's so simple, it's so short, but difficult because of our script. Whenever it becomes neutral, we think we can add some condiments and add some cosmetics and make it beautiful. That is the point where you miss the bus. So, Nibbida Viraga to Jnana Dassana Vimutti, people think it is happening only at the highest rate of meditation. No. In our day-to-day we have, but we are trained our life and taught our life to avoid the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. We think it is the business of poor people. We are rich enough, we must not face day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. So our bearability, our resistance, our immunity gone so low. We don't know how much we can bear. How much we have the immunity, enormous. We have enormous if you go prepared. The single term is preparedness. That is in Buddhism, it is called appamada. So Venerable Jnanarama used to say, any catastrophe, any difficulty, if you go prepared, it's a different story. If you go unprepared, you are completely succumb to the situation. So this preparedness is what we are developing, alertness, vigilance, diligence, and that alertness, vigilance and diligence have some relationship with Vimutti Jnana Dassana. Whenever someone enlightened, he is awakened. He is alert, not only to the pleasure principle, even to the suffering. That is the we call unshaken mind, or we call suchness, we call tatata, we call tathagata. He is equal to the both. So in literature, people are painting Buddha in a different way. It's glorious and only good part. But he is the person suffered so much, but no much of murmuring. He can undergo, because the human capacity is so much. So we are not allowing our children to have that chance. We are not allowing our dear and near ones to have their own share of suffering. We think it is not done. And we have no rights because we are in the same boat. So therefore, whenever nibbida happens, nibbida means things become tasteless, not vindana is feeling, good feeling. We are always for the vindana, always for the sensuous pleasure. Nibbida is like you are benumbed. You are anesthetized. Things are happening. It is not making a titillation by seeing anything was visual object. You are not carried away. You know you are seeing. At least you know you are not mindful. At least you know it is another source of defilements, another opening for defilement. Whenever hearing happens, good or bad, you understand instead of being a middle, neutral object, now you are carried away, you are eccentric, be with hearing and smelling, tasting, touching, and you have no agenda. Your mind is shifting from one to the other without prior notice. So then only you can entertain them. The moment you understand what a slave am I have no control, you can't entertain them, instead you feel what a fool. That is how world become yatha bhuta jnana dassana. Out of this all dirty thing, people make so much of stories, so much of the fabrications, and write literature, And people are thinking by reading them, I also can do that, go to that. But you can go into that, the dream world. You can go with drugs. You can go with alcohol. You can go with all the kind of things. So exactly the same when you are entertaining dreams. Instead, Yatha Buddha is accepting the present moment and totality. It's the whole system. Don't leave aside something, everything together. That is we call system approach. That is what the right brain is doing. So it is been utterly suppressed. In Sri Lanka, in India situation, people are complaining the female side is suppressed, male dominating. So it is of course the right brain is suppressed. By the left brain it is rational, it is systematic, lenient, arrogant and masculinity. So then right brain is suppressed. So according to my observation, when and where reduce your all activities, volitional activities, let them calm, then there is a connection between left brain and the right brain. Otherwise no communication. You are always suppressing right brain. So you are not aesthetic. You don't know how to entertain the nature. You don't know how to entertain your human life. You are not living. You are in a dream. So much so, you hate Nibbida Viraga. So whenever you feel boredom, whenever you feel monotonous, whenever you feel cornered, whenever you feel isolated, fearful, there is a door opening for the truth. If it is with hatred, you are perpetuating the samsara. Look at it, just like Pollyanna. Try to find a reason to be glad under such circumstances. Then you, each and every moment has equal weight, equal value. Then you find, by meditating or by becoming mindful, you gain nothing. Only reshuffling of things, and then power transmission happen. Whenever they disarray, no power transmission, that we call lunatic. So the Buddha says each and every putujana is lunatic, eccentric, because their powers are fighting each other. The contradictory, split mind, whenever it is aligned, you have the potential to become Buddha. It is not the God-created creatures that cannot be God. So that is separate issue. It is a slavery. But the Buddha says, internal there is a turmoil, internal there is a disarray, and whenever they come aligned with, you understand your potential. So how that disarray come into the alignment is continuously see the breath, longer time, and see meanwhile what happened to the breath. One after the other, story is there. That is micro level. And when you come up to the higher level, you can see the whole world follow the same pattern. So you understand the value of being under the Buddha Sasana, or teaching of the Buddha, and being a value of a human being, and you can understand what a kind of humanity we are living. So much of billions of people, but they are not worrying about their well-being. They are not worrying about their compassion upon them, and they are thinking of the past and the future, second generation, this and that, without they themselves become contented. And the value of the present moment, Chana Sampatti. Present moment we are losing all the time by thinking past, future, other people and other things. And listening to Dhamma, listening to people, living with true people, and live the life for the renunciation rather than accumulation. And that is how, after the understanding of Jnana-Dattana Vimutti, you start this journey. What is the journey? You take care about the words you are talking. You take care about the deeds you are doing per day, at a time, and your livelihood. And you think, it is not none of my business, that is what it happens. Yes, partly it is, yes. But whenever you reach Jnana-Dassana Vimutti, you get biforked. With proper diligence, you can cut off as much as possible talking. You see, now you people are go, how nice you are not talking. I am the only person talking. So I have to take care. And per day, how much you are working for luxury. beyond basic needs. No one can stop you. And no one can provoke you also. You can come back to the frugal life. And the livelihood, each and every job is exploiting other people. Please find any job, literal job, which is not exploiting, except a beggar, which is completely dependent upon someone. That is why the king became a beggar, lived like a beggar, the Buddha, and prescribed. He is no ashamed to say, please, come along with a begging bowl, and few hours, 1 hour time, we are in the line with the begging bowl, and people come and serve. And still, you are happy to go home and give dana rather than eating dana. So such a simple fact. Eating dana is such a blissful thing because people giving us and pay respect. When Jnanarama is telling, the Buddha gave us kind of a job, a beggar, giving the superior thing and pay respect. Any beggar can have that kind of a thing, because that no one can challenge, because they understand the present moment is the most important, and don't try to plan and research and go ahead. Do it for the sake of hobby. With the failure or success, no problem. So when that happens, you have to start that job. You have to start that way of life after the Jnana Darsana Vimukti. Till that you do just imitation. But after Jnana Darsana Vimukti, you do with your conviction. The understanding, you are confirmed. The Buddha is not telling age-old Dhamma. He is talking contemporary, living Dhamma. But you to understand the Nibbida Viraga in a proper way and to adjust your way of life, no one can stop you. And then only the sasana, the dispensation of the Buddha, going to happen. It is happening only through you, not from the Buddha Sasana Matyansi, not from the next Buddha to come, not from the government. They are nonsense. So we are one-man army. Try to be as much as mindful as possible and try to gain this Vimutti Jnana Darsana, the clear vision and clear understanding, and then the big task, selecting your way of life. Till that, whatever you do, it is just imitation. After Jnana Darsana Vimukti also only you can adjust it. So it is never too late. Whatever we gathered, mistakes and the correct things and the tools, everything we may be reshuffling and putting forth for the next moment to be simple, next moment to be innocent, next moment to be innocent and straightforward. Don't learn so much of crooked things, long formulas. The truth is under your nose, wherever you may be. So whenever that happens, you see, it's a birthright. It's not that we are earning by meditation. We have that. So we have to develop your own confidence. Hope this series of Dhamma talk and today's talk help you to put things in the straight way, straightening, and see the end of suffering here and now. With that remark, I would like to sum up the day's talk and thank you very much for listening.